Hello, my friends. Today we discovered that IELTS is much more than just an exam. But first, let's uncover a simple question. What exactly is IELTS? IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. It is one of the most widely recognized English language proficiency tests in the world. The exam measures how well you can listen, read, write, and speak in English in academic, professional, and everyday situations. In short, IELTS is not just a test for universities or migration, it is a structured path to improving all areas of English, building confidence and fluency, and helping you use English effectively in real-life situations. Most people believe that the secret to IELTS listening is hidden in tricks, shortcuts, or special strategies that only top scorers know. But the truth is far more profound, far more transformative, and far more life-changing than any formula you can memorize. IELTS listening is not just a test of hearing words, it is a test of how your mind responds when English moves faster than your comfort zone. It is a test of your patience, your focus, and your ability to stay calm under pressure. The moment you understand this, everything changes. Because the struggle you feel is not because you are weak, not because your vocabulary is small, and not because native speakers are too fast. It is because your brain has not yet learned to process English as a connected flow rather than as isolated words. When a fast speaker begins, it can feel like a river rushing past, and you are standing on the bank trying desperately to catch every word before it disappears. Your mind panics, trying to translate every sound, remember every detail, and predict what comes next, all at the same time. You feel behind, anxious, and frustrated. And in that moment, it is easy to think that comprehension is a measure of intelligence, when in reality, it is a measure of training, consistency, and calm attention. Listening, like life, is not about perfection, it is about presence. It is about learning to navigate uncertainty with curiosity rather than with panic. The real secret of IELTS listening begins with connection. Connection between sounds, between ideas, between sentences, and between meaning. Native speakers rely on connection constantly, almost instinctively, and they use subtle signals, words that act as signposts, to help listeners follow their thoughts. Words like because, so, however, actually, basically, in fact, I mean, and you know, are not just filler, they are guides, markers that indicate the direction of meaning, the cause and effect, the contrast, and the flow of thought. When you fail to notice these connectors, English feels chaotic and overwhelming. When you learn to recognize them instantly, speed becomes manageable. Comprehension begins to emerge, and panic recedes. This is why IELTS listening is not primarily about vocabulary, grammar, or memorized answers. It is about awareness. It is about the ability to notice patterns in speech, to anticipate meaning, to trust your mind even when it does not catch every word. Comprehension does not happen by chasing individual words. It happens when your brain starts listening for relationships between ideas. When you focus on the links rather than the fragments, everything changes. The fast speaker is no longer a blur. They are a path to follow, a rhythm to join, a thought process to understand. Better listening leads directly to better speaking, because the same skill that allows you to follow fast English also allows you to connect your own ideas smoothly. IELTS speaking is not about speed, vocabulary, or complex grammar. It is about coherence, clarity, and control. Speaking fluently is moving from one idea to the next without freezing, hesitation, or disconnection. And connectors are the invisible threads that hold your thoughts together. They organize your mind, guide your listener, and most importantly, keep you calm. When you know how to connect ideas, you are never lost. Even if your grammar is imperfect, even if your vocabulary is simple, your speech will flow naturally. This is the power of understanding structure, and this is the secret that most learners overlook. The journey begins with mindset. Most learners enter IELTS with a sense of urgency, a need to understand everything perfectly, and a fear of mistakes. This tension blocks comprehension. A stressed brain cannot follow patterns. It cannot recognize connections. It cannot stay with the speaker. Listening and speaking are not tasks to be conquered. They are skills to be cultivated slowly and patiently through repeated exposure. When you approach IELTS with the mindset of learning rather than judging, the process becomes empowering instead of exhausting. You begin to notice patterns, you begin to recognize signposts, and suddenly comprehension appears where you once felt confusion. Daily listening is essential. 10 minutes today, 15 tomorrow, a short conversation or podcast, a simple audio passage. These small, consistent exposures rewire your brain far more effectively than long, exhausting sessions once a week. The brain learns language through repetition, through familiarity, through calm, sustained attention. When you hear a phrase or a connector repeatedly, it stops being noise. It becomes a familiar shape, a signal you recognize instinctively. This is how neural pathways are strengthened. This is how fluency is built. The changes are subtle at first. You may not notice them. You may feel stuck, but every small session is progress, and every repetition is growth. Memory is not about force, it is about patterns. Trying to memorize every word of every sentence is exhausting and unnecessary. Instead, focus on the connections, the cause and effect, the structure, the rhythm of speech. The human brain is designed to detect patterns naturally. Once patterns are internalized, comprehension emerges effortlessly. Fast English stops feeling like chaos and begins to feel like a map. You understand not every word, but every idea. You follow meaning even when details blur, and this is the skill that transforms both listening and speaking. When you apply this same awareness to IELTS speaking, your fluency improves dramatically. You stop worrying about every word. You stop forcing complex grammar or fancy vocabulary. Instead, you focus on linking ideas, using simple connectors to guide your listener. Your thoughts become coherent, your sentences flow, and your speech becomes calm, confident, and natural. Examiners are not listening for perfection. They are listening for clarity, coherence, and confidence, and better connectors provide exactly that. The words themselves are not important, their purpose is. When your mind understands purpose, your speech flows because language becomes a reflection of thought rather than a series of rules. Consistency and patience are more powerful than intensity or last-minute cramming. Fast improvement is rare, and fast improvement without foundation is fragile. True mastery comes from daily practice, small adjustments, and repeated exposure. Every day you listen carefully to connected ideas, every day you practice speaking with purpose, every day you use connectors mindfully, you're strengthening the habits that produce real comprehension and lasting fluency. These habits are not flashy or dramatic, but they are unstoppable, and they create progress that feels invisible at first, but undeniable in the long term. Anxiety is the biggest barrier to IELTS success. When you panic, your brain stops noticing connectors, patterns, and cues. When you stay calm, your brain sees everything clearly. Calmness is not passive, it is active engagement with uncertainty. Every time you remind yourself to stay present, to focus on meaning rather than perfection, to follow connections rather than individual words, you strengthen your listening ability. Every time you speak with clarity, even when unsure, every time you use connectors to link your ideas, you strengthen your fluency. Patience, calmness, and consistency are the real secret ingredients that no one can give you because they must be cultivated from within. Listening and speaking are two sides of the same coin. You cannot improve one without the other. Listening teaches your brain to recognize patterns, to anticipate meaning, and to process speech at natural speed. Speaking teaches your brain to produce connected ideas smoothly, to organize thoughts in real time, and to maintain calm confidence under pressure. When these skills are trained together, your mind develops the ability to follow fast English without panic and to speak fluently without hesitation. The IELTS listening secret is not a technique, it is a mindset. The IELTS speaking secret is not a vocabulary list, it is connection. Both are powered by the same principle. Trust your mind to follow meaning, even when words blur. Many learners make the mistake of chasing shortcuts, memorizing answers, or relying on intensive drills. These methods may provide temporary improvement, but they do not build deep listening and speaking ability. Lasting mastery comes from repeated exposure, focused attention, and patient application of what you notice. Every time you hear a connector and recognize it, every time you use a connector to guide your speech, every time you practice calmly, consistently, and purposefully, you are building neural pathways that create automatic comprehension and fluent expression. These pathways cannot be rushed, and attempting to force them only produces frustration. The transformation is quiet. It is subtle. It may feel slow, but it is real. One day, without warning, you will realize that fast English no longer overwhelms you. You will follow conversations naturally. You will anticipate meaning. You will stay calm even when the words are unclear. You will speak fluently because your ideas are connected, not because you are memorizing phrases. You will discover that IELTS listening is not a test of your ability to hear. It is a reflection of your ability to stay present, to stay connected, and to trust yourself. The final truth is this: IELTS is not something to conquer. It is something to grow through. Every moment of frustration, every sentence you miss, every pause that challenges you is an opportunity for growth. When you stop fearing mistakes and start trusting the process, comprehension emerges. When you stop chasing perfection and start practicing connection, fluency grows. When you stay consistent, calm, and mindful, you do not just pass IELTS, you transform the way you experience English. You develop confidence, clarity, and inner strength that lasts far beyond the exam. You become a learner who can move through uncertainty with calm purpose, who can follow meaning even when details blur, and who can speak fluently because your ideas are connected, not because you know every word.